Hello and welcome back to Typical City. What an abysmal performance that was. It was a devastating evening for Manchester City. We've fallen into fourth place, deservedly so. And that's what the statement I really want to make is right off the bat, you've got to take your hats off to Aston Villa because they dismantled us yesterday. It was a complete domination in many aspects of football, not necessarily in terms of possession because we did have better possession stats, but I mean, it speaks for nothing. It speaks for nothing when you're getting 22 shots on goal as an Aston Villa compared to Manchester City's 2. You don't win football matches if you can get 2 shots on goal. You don't win them, you know. I mean, very, very rarely do you come away with a point if you're only able to get 2 shots on goal. Aston Villa were, breathtaking at times. Breathtaking. Some of the football they played was sublime. And I don't want this to be too much of a deflection tactic. I want to own our own inefficiencies, our lack of quality on the ball, our almost lack of belief, confidence. I certainly don't want to knock the effort. I've heard some creators talk about effort. I think that's wrong. Totally wrong that they're not trying. I think that's a lazy analytical approach of the game, just to say, oh, they don't care, they weren't trying. Nonsense, absolute nonsense. They were trying, they were just poor on the ball, and they couldn't handle the fire that Aston Villa brought. You know, they were lethal. You know, they closed us down. The tenacity of Aston Villa, we deserved it. We deserved to get beaten. We were lucky it wasn't more than 1-0. Here's the match stats anyway: 46% possession for Villa to our 54. Means nothing that we had more of the ball. A lot of it was sideways passes, keeping it simple. Nothing effective whatsoever. And as you can see, we only had 2 shots on target. So again, nothing effective. 2 shots in total, 2 on target. I mean, a prolific 100% on target record. You can, if you want a silver lining, that's what you can come out of that one. 2 shots, 2 on target. Hey, 22 shots for Villa though. 7 on target for them. An XG of 2.38, so they underperformed. They deserved more than the 1 goal. Like I said, we didn't even get a XG of 1. Rightly so, 0.65 for us. 2 big chances each, which doesn't speak the truth to that game. 436 passes to our 520, 13 fouls each and 2 yellow cards each. Right, player ratings now. Going to start with man of the match. Ederson. Now, Ederson was putting in some saves you expect him to make in that first half, but some saves were decent. There was a Pau Torres left foot curler that was flying into the top corner. Outstretched big hand from Ederson, tips it round the post. You can see there, 6 saves from Ederson. Keeps us from being embarrassed at Villa Park, to be honest, because we could have been pummeled yesterday. In that first half, within the first 20 minutes, we could have been 2 down. I mean, it could have been 2-2 actually in the first 20 minutes, but beyond that, in the whole first half, the grand scheme of the whole game, he kept it from looking terrible, you know. At the end of it, it kept it at 1-0. It saved our blushes a little bit there, Ederson. Who else is going to get man of the match? There's nobody in this team that deserves it, but 47 touches, 86% passing accuracy. 0s in all the other columns except for 6 saves, 7.5 for Ederson. Well done, Ederson. Kyle Walker, poor. And I mean, it's getting to the point now where I'm confused as to why Pep still insists on allowing him and giving him that license to go forward. The guy can't attack. He is not an attacking fullback at all. He's a defending fullback. He's an old school fullback. I love that about him. But you don't want him involved in these networks of passes and triangles in the attacking third. I don't want him there. We saw it when we were 1-0 down, and after going 1-0 down, we offered absolutely nothing. You're thinking, here we go, 1-0 down, City are going to turn this round now and show a bit of bite. A little bit of sparking into action, something, a call to action. 1-0 down, kaboom. Here we go. City respond, nothing. Absolutely woeful as a response to going 1-0 down. And Kyle Walker's contribution was abysmal to that particular part of the game. That last 15 minutes where he came forward, he was caught offside 2 or 3 times. He was giving the ball away, he was miscontrolling it, allowing it to slip out for a throw-in. And I mean, defensively, the numbers aren't great either, to be honest. I mean, Kyle Walker is known for never getting dribbled past. He was dribbled past twice in this game. He attempted 1 dribble, wasn't successful. 3 clearances, an interception, a tackle, and 85% passing accuracy. Kyle Walker, 5 for me. Ruben Dias, I don't think he played that badly, to be honest. I mean, the stats are definitely in his favour. There was nothing he could have done about the goal. It was an unfortunate deflection. At least he's thrown himself in front of the ball to try and do something about it. Unfortunate that the deflection came off his big toe, but I mean, nothing he could have done about it. 76 touches, 96% passing accuracy, so our inability to break out from the back has nothing to do with him. In the sense of ball retention, I'd argue to have a go at him, he took the easy option a little bit too much. I thought going to Gvardiol or to Walker, rarely did he offer a pass into Akanji or into John Stones, who were pushing into defensive midfield. The channels weren't there. He couldn't do it. You know what I mean? Did he want to give the ball away, or was he not brave enough? I don't think it was a case of that. When it came down to one-on-one duels with Ollie Watkins, he did really well. I thought he handled him reasonably well, and 9 clearances to your name as well shows how under the cosh City were. The fact that these defenders are putting these numbers up, and he's not the only one to have decent high numbers in defending statistics, with 9 clearances, 2 interceptions, 3 tackles, 3 block shots. We were under the cosh. We were like getting peppered, firing away shots, just patting away anything that came near us as best as he could. It was inevitable that our back line was going to be penetrated at some point, and it wasn't Ruben Dias' fault. I thought he had an okay night. Dribbled past once, of course. 7 out of 10 for Ruben Dias. I thought he did all right. On the other hand, Manuel Akanji, he struggled in that middle of the park. I really struggled. I'm going to jump straight to this. Dribbled past is a stat that's going to be echoed and dominoed throughout this whole video you're about to see. The amount of players that have a stupid amount of dribbled past stats is alarming. Very alarming. And I'm wondering why. I don't know what that is, why we're being dribbled past so easily. I'm putting it down to how brilliant Villa were, and the mobility of Aston Villa, the tenacity, and they were just on it. They were just on song, and we could not cope. We could not cope with Aston Villa last night at all. Dribble past 3 times isn't good enough. 5 clearances, again, an example of being under the cosh. No interceptions, 1 tackle, 88% passing accuracy. I thought he struggled last night. 5 for Manuel Akanji. Josko Gvardiol, really interesting one, because I want to highlight again, dribbled past, 0. Doesn't sound right, that, to me, does it? Doesn't feel like that. I remember watching the game and I thought Leon Bailey was immense yesterday. He was absolutely immense. But statistically, and then this is more evidence of why you have to combine the two. There are people who think I'm a stat man. I'm not a stat man. I enjoy my stats, but I also very much rely on these two things. I rely on them more than these stats ever could. And here's why. Because the statistical provider that I use to gather this information for you guys, do you want to know what statistically, which is an algorithm of all these stats built in, and the total equation of all of a player's stats equates to a number based on all those numbers? It's not a number, some individual. It's not an opinion. It's not an individual saying, I think he was an 8 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10 or a 7 out of 10. The numbers that you get on statistical websites are a complete accumulation of statistics that's wrapped up into one number, basically, as a final package. So statistically, Leon Bailey got 7.9 out of 10. Josko Gvardiol, 8. If you could land an alien on our planet and make him watch, or her, could be a female alien. No, you're not getting me cancelled. Hey, 7.9 for Leon Bailey and an 8 for Josko Gvardiol. If you asked an alien to sit there and look at that match and watch that game and say, what do you reckon then? Out of Leon Bailey and Josko Gvardiol, who do you think played better? There's no way that alien would say Gvardiol was the better player. Because Leon Bailey, not only did he score, he was everywhere. He offered a constant threat throughout this game, and I think that speaks volumes to how well Gvardiol actually did to keep it at 1-0. There were times where Gvardiol looked like he was struggling, but I think it's more of a case of Leon Bailey was bloody brilliant and posing such a threat that Gvardiol had his hands full this whole game, and it made ugly. And I was critical of Gvardiol yesterday. I mean, some of the stats that Gvardiol's got in his favour right now are, I mean, for example, one of the block shots, I know for a fact one of those block shots was him giving it away to Leon Bailey. He gave the ball away and immediately rectified it by sprinting back across and blocking the shot. So it was not so good for giving it away, but well done for blocking the shot. Now he comes away with a block shot, and there's not enough there to indicate how poor that decision was to give the ball away in the first place. So 8 tackles. Brilliant. That's really, really good. But the fact that he has to make 8 tackles is an indication of how the night went. It's damning. It's a damning indication that the midfield offered nothing. Nothing as a way of protection to our back three. And the fact that in front of the back three was 2 more defenders is even more alarming. We had effectively, if you include Rico Lewis, who's played more minutes as a defender for Manchester City than he has as an attacker or a midfielder, we had effectively had 6 defenders on that pitch yesterday, and we could not cope. Maybe that's the reason why we've only had 2 shots. That probably answers that debate as to why we had absolutely no creativity whatsoever, and why the defensive numbers are so high is because we spent the whole game bloody defending, and getting under the cosh. 8 tackles is good. Annoying that he has to make them. 1 clearance, 1 interception, dribble past 0 times. And that Leon Bailey going up against him. So it's a fair play to Gvardiol. I'm giving him a 6, which is a little bit, I'm uncertain on that one. I feel like a touch generous potentially, but still, to not be dribbled past at all is decent against Leon Bailey. Moving on anyway, John Stones just struggled, didn't he? And we were all hoping that John Stones would slip straight back in, slide into this Manchester City side. And it's like, Rodri who? Rodri who? We don't need Rodri. We've got John Stones. Well, we need Rodri because he is a defender. He is a defender and he was playing bloody brilliant last season. I think John Stones is an immense player to have in that park. But I said it before in the preview that we have never seen John Stones do it on his own. Do it without the partnership of Rodri. And you do not underestimate how valuable it is to look alongside you and see Rodri, the greatest defensive midfielder in the world right now, sitting alongside you. It makes you go, nice and relaxed. Keep it cool. And John Stones can do his thing without worrying about doing the Rodri thing. And the fact that Rodri wasn't alongside him, he looked to his right and saw Manuel Akanji, who was equally out of his depth yesterday, in a midfield, going up against a midfield that had power and pace and technicality with Kamara, Douglas Luiz and Youri Tielemans. Just the combination of those 3, you just couldn't cope. They just could not cope with those 3 at all. Physicality of Douglas Luiz and the technicality of Douglas Luiz, the sharpness and also technicality of Youri Tielemans, and Kamara's like a complete package as well. It was a midfield masterclass from Aston Villa, and they got exposed in the middle. City did, big time. 56 touches, 90% passing accuracy for John Stones, no key passes, an interception, a tackle, 4 clearances, and he lost the ball 9 times. I've got to give him a 5. He was all over the place. He got booked as well, and I thought, he's running the line there, was nearly getting sent off and flying into tackles a little bit rash. I felt like he had the wrong boots on, to be honest. He was slipping a lot last night, John Stones. He just looked like he'd been injured for a couple of weeks, and this is not the ideal game to be walking back into away at Villa. 5 for John Stones. Rico Lewis, same again, 5. He got bullied, and I love him, and I don't want this to be a smear campaign on any City player. None of these individual players are being picked on. We've got to talk about it as it is, as we all love Rico Lewis. I know he's young, and I don't like the idea of sticking the finger at someone so young as well. I look at the older players, 25, 26, and then say you are the ones who should be more responsible and take this on the chin and carry the weight of the team on your shoulders a little bit more, with a bit more pride than that. And Rico Lewis, being so young, he needs protecting. And he doesn't need people like me to sit here on YouTube and say he was shit all day. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't need that. But he was poor. He wasn't great. He struggled. And I think John McGinn just schooled him. I really think he schooled him yesterday and just showed him. It was a learning curve. This was a big, big learning curve for Rico Lewis of, pick the battles you can win. He was going in for battles with John McGinn and he was getting out-muscled by Douglas Luiz. And Youri Tielemans was ghosting around him. He was struggling to find positions that he could affect the game, Rico Lewis. I just think his physicality was exposed a lot yesterday, and a couple of times he got on the ball and he tried to burst forward with it in the first half, but other than that, not good. 68 minutes, 30 touches, 83% passing accuracy, no key passes, interception, clearance, 1 dribble attempt, wasn't successful, he lost the ball 6 times, 5 out of 10 for Rico Lewis. Phil Foden, I thought he tried a few things in the first half. He created one of the opportunities for Erling Haaland That was nice. Still pretty ineffectual. 76% passing accuracy is too low. Way too low. He's got to have better ball retention than that. He's got to affect the game more than that as well. 32 touches is really low. For someone in his position as well. 1 key pass and interception. No shots. He lost the ball 12 times. 5.5 for Phil Foden. Bernardo Silva, I was pretty critical of him. I think the stats have helped him get away with another 5.5. I thought before I saw the stats in my head, I'm thinking 5.5, somewhere like that for Bernardo Silva. I think the stats have helped him in that regard. Dribble attempts 3, 2 of which were successful. That's the best in our team yesterday. 3 tackles, big chances created 1, but there it is again. That's what I mentioned earlier in the video, dribbled past 4 times. Where's the press? Like, that's too much. That's 4 times he was dribbled past. That's alarming. That's concerning. For someone who's not really known for... It's not like he's a defender or anything like that, but his press is normally much better than that. And it seems like people were ghosting past him yesterday. Lucas Digne had no problem dealing with him all game. No problem. Lost the ball 9 times. 6 for Bernardo Silva. Again, a touch on the generous side. But anyway, the first 4.5 I've ever given. The first score I've ever given below a 5. And I don't want this to be, you don't like Alvarez then. No, I just think he was totally ineffectual yesterday. Offered nothing. Again, there you go, dribbled past twice. Again, another problem. That too many players in the attacking sense were just bypassed, broke the lines way too easily. So if you're having a night of defending... You start your defence at the front. You start at the front. You can't just say, like, right, our job isn't to defend. We'll let Manuel Akanji and John Stones and backwards defend, and then we'll do the attacking side of the game. It's a team game. You've got to prevent the ball getting through. And it starts at the front with Erling Haaland, and then after that, it's Julian Alvarez and Bernardo Silva and Phil Foden. And between Alvarez and Bernardo Silva, they've been ghosted past 6 times. That's too much. It's too easy. You know, it needs to improve. His creativity that I made that video about City's problems that were based on the 3 games that we've drawn. And I'm telling you right now, if we performed to the same standard as we did in either of those games, in Chelsea game, Liverpool game, Spurs game, we'd beat Villa yesterday. At least come away with a point. We'd at least come away with a point, minimum. But the drop in performance, and this is the issue with creators right now as well, who go so hard with the negativity after a 1-1 with Liverpool and a 3-3 with Spurs and 4-4 with Chelsea. You nail them so hard. Where is there to go with a performance like this? That's why you need someone with a bit of rationality talking about it. Someone who's talked about... Because those 3 performances weren't that bad. But the people who've said how terrible we were in those games and how appalling they were in those games, what are they saying today? What are they doing? Slitting their fucking wrists today? Like, Jesus Christ. How'd you go from being so bad against Spurs, yet we created the amount of chances we created, to this abysmal performance? I don't know what they're saying today. God knows what they're saying today. Are they even on YouTube? Are they even writing in their articles? Honestly, I don't know where they go. But still, I thought Julian Alvarez this season has been doing a really good job. That first 7 or 8 games of the season, his numbers were brilliant. Creative numbers, goal-scoring numbers, assist numbers, all brilliant. But since the second international break in particular, he's just offered pretty much nothing. And he is starting to look like a square peg in a round hole at the minute. 68 minutes played, 36 touches, 77% passing accuracy, same as Phil Foden. Can't be dropping into the 70s. Got to keep that better than that. No key passes, no shots whatsoever. 3 dribble attempts, 0 successful. Dribble pass twice. 4.5 for Julian Alvarez. Erling Haaland. What do you talk about for Erling Haaland? He missed those 2 chances. Yes, that first one in particular, he's got to try and find more in the corner. Make Martinez pull off a harder save than that, because he not only did it, he got some nice power behind it, Haaland, but he didn't find it far enough into the corner, and he elevated the ball too high to make it a savable height. He's got to get that and make that roll across the ground. He's got to skim that like a pebble across a lake. It's got to be fizzing across the ground. You can't get height on it because it's savable at that height, and firing it into the far corner, you'd probably get away with it being at that height if it's right in the corner. But it was just, I mean, that was it. Other than that, the header that followed not even about 10 seconds after that chance. Again, Martinez, could he have found the corner? But I mean, we can't say this is a case of him should have scored that and it would have been a different game. That's a cop-out, that is. That's a real cop-out and way too easy. The rest of the team cannot get away with that. That cannot be the excuse for the rest of the team that Erling Haaland missed that chance. No way. No way, because he wasn't given a sniff after that. He had nothing to do after that. I felt for him. 78% passing accuracy. That's normal for Erling Haaland. That's actually higher than normal, if anything, comparing it's not his game, ball retention. He wants to be the end of the moves, and if you're not creating any moves, he's almost redundant. Do you know what I mean? It's pointless having him on the pitch if we're not creating chances. Aerial duels, 1, and he didn't win it. 2 shots, both on target, and they were both big chances, both missed. Lost the ball 4 times, 5.5. Now onto the subs. Matheus Nunes, not a great performance in actual end product, but there was something about his game that I thought was okay. He put himself about, he was lively, he got into that little pocket of space in the penalty area that I think it was Foden who fed him. He tried a stupid flick, and I'm like, don't do that. That was a stupid flick. There was no need to try that there. You had more space than that. You could have even taken a touch in that situation, but the fact that he found that pocket of space was more than anyone else had done in that game. More than anyone else in a creative sense. He put himself about. His actual end product, not good enough. He needs to improve. He needs to not be so loose with the ball. He seems to be a bit rash with his approach to the game. I think he just wants to prove a point. He's desperately trying to prove a point. Almost too much. He's coming on with not enough composure and too much energy in a way, if that makes sense. In a negative energy, like too much like, I want to prove to you that I can do it. And then by being so overly zealous with yourself, you haven't got that composure in your game to cool your jets in front of goal, or when you need to find that pass and get the right weight of pass. Those little details, that'll come with time and minutes on the pitch, but I can't pretend it was a dazzling performance from him, because it wasn't. The end product wasn't there. 79% passing accuracy, no passes, key passes, no shots, a tackle, dribble attempt, and wasn't successful. Lost the ball 6 times, and 6 times in 22 minutes. Too casual. 5.5. Same again for Mateo Kovacic. He looked slow. There was a couple of times where he went down the left side with the ball. He looked about 45 years old playing with a bunch of 20-year-olds. Like, they just seem to catch him up so easily. And his ball carrying ability is one of his attributes, and he is slowly growing as a concern for me, Kovacic, right now, as someone who's not hit the ground running at all at City. I thought he got off to an okay start with us first 6 games. He looked all right. He looked like, hang on a minute, we got a potential Gundogan replacement here. He looked composed and decent. Link-up play was all right. Ball retention's okay, 93% passing accuracy for 22 minutes, same as Nunes in terms of minutes on the pitch. No key passes, no interceptions, a clearance, and he was dribbled past once. Again, another player that's been ghosted past. Lost the ball twice, which is decent. 5.5 though for Kovacic. Oscar Bob, I've got to keep the same. People want to protect certain players. I know what City fans are like, in particular the young City fans, the 20-year-olds. They look at our youth academy and you dare say a bad word about players, but they're all in the same boat. They're all Manchester City players as far as I'm concerned. I don't care if they're from the academy or not. You don't get special treatment from me. You don't. And I'm sorry, those numbers right there are exactly the same as Kovacic's. So there's no way that I'm giving him a 6 just because it's Oscar Bob and he hasn't played much minutes and he's come through our academy. You don't get that level of protection. You don't get that luxury. And he didn't play badly by any stretch of the imagination. I know what City fans, the young City fans, are like. I know they'll be thinking Oscar Bob should be getting a 6. He should. I know that. He ain't getting a 6. He's 5.5 because, I mean, arguably the stats are worse than Kovacic, if anything, in the time. He was on the pitch for 5 minutes less. Zero impact. 83% passing accuracy. It's too low in that amount of time. And he offered nothing as a substitute. It's a shame. Hopefully, going forward, he could change it. I like what I see from Oscar Bob. This is not me saying I don't like the player. I think there's an amazing player in there. The small glimpses we've seen prior to this Villa game, we've seen a lively player that I think has got an immense amount of potential, and I want to see more of him. But last night, he just joined in with the rest of them, so he can't be separated from them because it's Oscar Bob and he's young and let's give him time. He joined in. He was part of the problem. He was part of the problem yesterday, and that was a complete collective problem from Manchester City in an immensely disappointing evening of football that sees us now sitting fourth in the Premier League, 3 points ahead of United. Is one of the most deflating sentences I've said in a long time. Like, oh, shit is the word that I want to shout right now. Fuck. Honestly, it's absolutely devastating. But what do you think, Blues? What do you think about player ratings? I'm sure some of you think I've been too generous. I'm sure some of you think I've probably been too harsh. That's what this is all about, though. Get those opinions into the comments. I do want to hear them. I am interested in what you've got to say and what you think. Was there any one individual? Do you think I've been too harsh on Alvarez being the one player to drop below a 5? Do you think I was too generous with Ruben Dias giving him a 7 and Ederson getting a 7.5 man of the match? I'd be hard-pressed to find someone to argue with me for giving Ederson man of the match because, I mean, who else, really? I've got to give it someone. So, I mean, yeah, Ederson deserved it. But what do you think? Get your comments in below. I really want to hear them. Like and subscribe. Typical City is the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.
This is Typical City now, holding up Silva.